The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Chugiak Volunteer Fire Department, Alaska, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 35096. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting at the front bumper, passenger and driver side face of the front bumper, you'll find dual air horns. Moving just inside of that location on the passenger side, you'll find your electronic siren and PA speaker. In the very center of the bumper, you'll find your mechanical siren. As we move up onto the cab face, on the outer edges, you'll find the marker clearance light. Just inside of that location, you'll find the headlight structure, housing a low and high beam headlight. The high beam will be located on the inside. Moving up, you'll find a turn indicator, and also in that combination bezel, an emergency warning light. You'll also find your unit number, TE33. There are 3 windshield wipers across a seamless one-piece windshield. As we move to the outer edges, you'll find your mirrors housing a flat and convex mirror. Moving up onto the brow of the apparatus, you'll find 5 clearance lights. Located directly in the center, a forward-facing LED floodlight. And then as you move up onto the roof of the apparatus, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Let's take a look at the driver's side of the vehicle. Here's a full view of the entire apparatus from the side. Let's focus now in on the cab section. We'll start down at the front axle. In the front axle, you'll find a sight gauge located in the center. Moving to the forward area, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light just behind the front bumper. As we move up, you'll find that marker light we previously mentioned. And then we have 2 door entry points. Those are grab handles which are easily accessible with a gloved hand. They are keyed locks also. In addition, we have handrails located at all points of entry. Directly over the front axle, you'll find your auto eject shoreline inlet. And then moving up to the top of the cab in the front over the driver's door, you'll find a side-facing LED floodlight. And then at the rear of the cab, you'll find an LED water level tank indicator. Let's take a look at some close-ups. Goodyear tires. You'll find the sight gauge located in the very center axle. Quick view of your pump area. This is the mid pump, and then we'll move toward the body of the truck, first starting with the wheel chocks located in front of and rear of the axle. Moving up from that, you'll find a mid marker light. There are 2 pan doors on this side of the vehicle. First, this one will be your DEF, and then the one in the rear will be your ultra low sulfur diesel. You do have a side chute for your water tank, emergency warning light, and then as we move all the way up to the very top, you'll find a side-facing floodlight. And then moving to the very back, your 360-degree emergency warning light. Let's go ahead and move to the rear of the apparatus. We'll identify a few items here, starting with your tail lights. First at the top, emergency warning light, brake light, turn, and reverse. There are 4 light switches located on this side. We'll cover those in just a moment. 2 on the passenger side. As we move toward the center, attached to the frame rail, you'll find 2 tow hooks, your unit TE33 unit identifier, rear dump chute located at the rear. As we move up, you'll find a direct tank fill. Moving further up in the very center, just above the Pierce logo, is where you'll find your LED water level tank indicator. And then just above that, you'll find a reverse or backup camera. Moving to the outer edges, you'll find 2 emergency warning lights at the very top section. Moving further up, you'll find 2 adjustable work or scene lights. And then all the way up to the very top, you'll find your emergency warning lights. Let's go ahead and take a look at the side of the vehicle now. This will be the passenger side. Then we'll go ahead and focus in on the cab. Same configuration as the driver's side. And let's go ahead and go now to the driver's side. We'll start in the cab area of the driving position. Let's first start with the door panel. We have all of our safety and warning information affixed to the door panel. You also have electric windows,
grab handle and also a latch and lock. In the lower step wheel, you'll find your air inlet. Moving just up from that location at the base of the seat is where you'll find your battery charger. When plugged into shore power, this will indicate the battery level. Moving up to about the right ankle of the operator sitting in the seat, you'll find this placard, manufactured for your department. This houses the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, VIN number, fluid capacities for the component, fluid capacity type. As we move now to about the left knee of the operator, we'll start with the very bottom switch panel. Let's start on the left-hand side, first identifying we have an ABS diagnostics, DPF regen, engine diagnostics indicator switch, and then also regen inhibit. Moving up, you'll find your master battery switch. It's a quarter turn. And then just to the right for your maintenance team, you'll find the engine, transmission, ABS J1939 diagnostic port. Let's move to the dash. On the left, you'll find the start and ignition switch. A little difficult to see in this image. Just inside of that location, you'll find a switch labeled EM, which stands for Emergency Master. It will engage or disengage all of your emergency lights. Next to it, you'll find your headlight switch and also a switch labeled panel. This allows you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator. On the opposite side of the steering column, OK to engage your high idle indicator and switch. Moving up to the gauges on the left, you have your transmission oil, DEF level, and water temp. On the right, you'll find volts, fuel level, front air, rear air. Tachometer and speedometer directly in the center. You'll also find diagnostic information displays above and below the speedometer. Let's move slightly to the right. We'll get a general view here of this area. We'll first start on the left. A little difficult to see in the previous image. This is your OK to engage your high idle. Starting at the top, we have the front flood, left cab scene, driver's side body scene, right cab scene, passenger side body scene, and rear scene. Let's move down to the next switch bank, where we'll first start on the left with the dump master. Open driver's side dump and close. Open driver's side dump and close. That's for the passenger side. Open rear dump close. All the way to the right, front wheel lock and also windshield wiper, push for fluid. As we move further down, we have an engine brake switch, setting switch for that engine brake, low, medium, and high. Your tire chains, differential lock, both of those are protected switches. Differential lock activated is an indicator, and also your off-road traction. Let's move down in the same vicinity where you'll find first on the left your pump shift. There are instructions for the pump shift for moving from road to pump and then also from pump to road. Just as a reminder, you need 2 green indicators, OK to pump and pump engaged before exiting the cab for pump operations. To the right, your mirror control for flat and convex. All the way to the top, your yellow diamond, pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Further to the right, you'll find your Allison transmission pad. We do have an informational note here to pump in drive. As we move to the right, you'll find climate control, heat and defrost, and then also some warning information regarding disengaging a retarder when on slippery or wet surfaces, and then also always use the parking brake when your engine is operating with the front wheel lock. Let's go ahead and look overhead of the operator's position. You'll find this placard attached to the A-pillar top section. It's the height of your vehicle, 9 feet, 10.25 inches, length, 32 feet, 5.5 inches, and a gross vehicle weight rating, 62,000 pounds. We do have some additional switches: emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. Moving further to the right, you'll find your control module for your siren and PA speaker system. And as we move further to the right, this is in the driver's space continuously, we'll find additional switches: high beam flash, low intensity warning lights, siren brake in red, a selector switch, either air horn or electric horn, mirror heat, and load manager. Let's move toward the center of the cab where you'll find your seatbelt information display. Red indicating someone is in the seat and not belted. Green, someone is in the seat and belted. As we move directly in line with the front section, you'll find your monitor for your camera. Directly behind that, you'll find this red light indicating do not move your apparatus. You have a compartment or door open. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, you'll find on the rear wall an EMS compartment with netting. And as we move to the exterior, just in rear of the front cab door, you'll find your shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp auto eject plug. As we move inside the cab, you'll find in the very center a lift and turn latch will gain you access into this space. This is for your engine and transmission daily checks. You'll also find SCBA brackets on the passenger and driver side outside of the EMS compartment. As we move to the door panel, once again, you'll find affixed all of our safety and warning information. Let's start with the pump panel area. Just above the pump panel is where you'll find your crosslay. There are 3 crosslays located here. First, crosslay number 1, crosslay number 2, and crosslay number 1 2.5-inch crosslay. We do have a warning here in this crosslay area. This is for entanglement hazard. Because of those lines coming from aloft, there is the possibility of entanglement, and that's why we have a warning label here. Let's move down onto the pump panel. We'll start first on the very left-hand side of the pump panel with your water tank level indicator. Moving into the gray module, you'll find your master intake gauge. It's the large gauge in the gray area. As we move to the right, you'll find your master discharge gauge. In between the two of those, you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and are for testing purposes. As we move further to the right into the gray module again, you'll find your module for your pressure throttle governor. As we look to the outside edge of that, you'll find this black audible alarm. The outer edge of this bezel does allow you to dampen the sound. As we move to the right, you'll find a panel light switch, future switch locations, and also your indicator for your OK to pump. Further to the right, you'll find your engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. As we move down to our discharges, you'll find crosslays 1 and 2 and also the 2.5-inch crosslay in the upper left-hand corner. Your powered equipment rack, which we'll go over that in just a few moments. Your fire pump primer, it is an air prime push to prime with a minimum recommendation of 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Moving to the right, you'll find your tank fill and recirculating line, and then the number 1 right side discharge, which is a 2.5-inch. Let's move down on the pump panel into the next section where you'll find your minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that individually. And then also to the right, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. Further to the right, when you're climbing on the vehicle, make sure that you face the vehicle for safety purposes. As we move down, once again, minimum operation maintenance schedule. We'll go over that in its entirety. And then we'll also look to the right where you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge. It is the green wheel valve. To the right, you'll find the number 1 left side discharge. This is the 2.5-inch right next to it. And then also this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment only after they've received proper training. Just down from that, the 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet is a 2.5-inch female inlet ball valve. To the right, the American flag, Pierce logo, and eagle. This is your large diameter pump intake. Further to the right, you'll find an additional 2.5-inch discharge. And then at the very bottom, you'll find the placard regarding the type of pump you have, which is a Hale pump. To the right, you have a tank to pump. Moving further down is where you'll find the tank drain. It's the T handle on the right. And then at the very bottom, you'll find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go back to the placards that we mentioned earlier. This is the placard regarding the type of pump that you have. And then moving back to the minimum operation maintenance schedule for 150, 200, and 250 PSI test pressures. On the left is the associated GPM at test pressure, and then on the right, the associated RPM at test pressure for those individual test pump pressures. In the upper left, you'll find the 5-digit job number, 35096. Let's go ahead and move to the body compartments now, where you'll see when you're plugged into shore power, this outlet will be active. This is for your battery charger. That's the device on the left-hand side, and maintain your batteries when you're parked in your station. As we move just to the front axle area, just above that, you'll find the blue cap. This is your 4.5 US gallons DEF tank. To the rear, in between the two axles, will be your driver's side dump valve. Let's move just to the rear axle, where you'll find just above that location a pan door housing your ultra low sulfur diesel fill location. It is the silver cap. Let's go ahead and move to the rear compartment on the driver's side. You'll find at the base of it is where you'll find your folding wheel chock. The other wheel chock is located just in front of the front axle. We're now to the rear of the apparatus. Let's move to the upper left-hand corner in this image. This is your equipment rack, which will deploy your portable water tank. We do have a warning label here. As we move to the switches, we have driver's side dump chute, rear dump chute, rear scene lights, and deck lights. Let's move toward the center of the rear section of the apparatus. We'll start at the back. We have some warning information. Do not ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. We also have a warning label here regarding entanglement because of the hoses coming from aloft. We also have on the opposite side a pressure warning hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. And then also last, a warning label here. If you're climbing on the vehicle, make sure you face the vehicle while climbing. Let's move down to the very bottom again to the tow eyelets. You will find some warning information here that you're required to have a direct pull for those eyelets. Also in the very center, you'll find your rear dump chute. And then moving to the upper right-hand corner in this image, you'll find a direct tank fill. Let's move to the opposite side of the ladder where you'll find two switches, rear dump chute and also passenger side dump chute. As we move around to the passenger side of the vehicle, you'll find your ladder rack. We'll go over that in just a few moments. As we move to the rear compartment, LED lighting, adjustable shelving. Let's move directly over the tandem axle where you'll find your dump chute and also a SCBA bottle storage location. You'll also find two compartments. D-handle will gain you access into these compartments. Quick image here, close-up here of the passenger side dump chute. And then we'll take a look at the ladder storage devices. And what I'd like to point out, in the very front of the front axle, you'll find this warning label: extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures. Be cautious where you park your vehicle, especially during regen operations. As we move to the next compartment, adjustable shelving and LED lighting. Let's now move to the midpoint of your apparatus where you'll find two pan doors. There's an upper pan door for inspection in the pump area. And then I'd also like to point out we have a 2.5-inch discharge on this side, large diameter discharge, lower pan door, then also the American flag Eagle Pierce logo. This is your passenger side pump inlet. Moving just to the right, you'll find your cab lift. There are instructions for raising and lowering. As we move down to the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's take a look at some of these items. First, starting in the upper left with the 2.5-inch crosslay. This is the rear section, and then number 1 and number 2 crosslay. Once again, we've got some warning labels. Always face the vehicle when climbing it. Would like to point out the pan door at the very top, and then also a warning label regarding pressure hazard. As we look into the pan door area, it's an access for visualization. As we move down to the very bottom section, let's identify a few areas here. Let's start with the 2.5-inch discharge, large diameter discharge, and then moving to the right, you'll find your cab lift. There are instructions here to raise and also to lower. We do have some danger and caution information also on this placard. In addition, with a protected switch is the raise and lower, and then to the very far right-hand side is where you'll find the activate switch. Let's move down to the left side where the pan door is located at the very bottom. This is your powered equipment rack. Instructions here for raise and lower. Also danger information associated with this because of the movement of that object. We do have a master switch and lift up or down. Let's go ahead and go inside the cab of the vehicle. This is the rear area. Once again, affixed to the door panel, you'll find all of our safety and warning information. As we move overhead, you'll find push on and off white or red lens lights. And then as we move to the outer edge in the rear section cab area, you'll find an SCBA bottle storage location. Let's go ahead and move to the forward section to the officer area. Once again, affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information. Also a red grab handle for gaining access into the vehicle. On the A-pillar is where you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Let's move inside to the cab area. First, on the left of the officer seat, you'll find an air horn and mechanical siren switch. These are push buttons. As we move overhead, push on and off red or white lenses. You'll also find future location for components. On the passenger side, you'll find a siren brake. It is the red switch. Let's take a look at some items with all of the compartment doors in the open position. This is the full side of the vehicle. And then we'll look now to the driver's side of the vehicle. And now let's go up onto the very top section of the cab area where you'll find these two warning labels. This is a non-walking surface, and that's why we have these two warning labels. You'll also find the letters TE-33 on top of the roof area. As we move to the dunnage area, and now we'll move back to the rear section of the hose bed area, you can see you have a single divider on the passenger side. As we move to the right, you'll find the tank fill location in the very rear section. This is for top fill location. General view here of the rear section of your apparatus. Let's go underneath to the rear axle where you'll find your tire chains. Congratulations on your new Pierce Fire apparatus, job number 35096. If you have any questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.